Hi, and welcome to the 63rd episode of the Autoblog Podcast. I'm your host, John Neff, and with me as they are every week are Damon Labyrinth and Alex Nunez. How you guys doing today?
Very well.
Great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're back in the swing of things, doing a podcast every week, which is great since we love doing these. Whoop, whoop. And we have a few stories to go over. It was kind of a quiet week, but there were definitely some gems in there. So let's hop right into them. And Damon, I'm going to give the first story to you. As you wrote the post on it.
Yeah, one of the things that came out actually kind of late last night, Automotive News reported something we'd kind of had a pretty good indication of. Actually, I was doing some research last year, and you wrote a post up on it about a year ago, John, about the Suzuki Swift coming to the US at some point in the future. And according to one of the execs that Automotive News talked to, the Swift is going to be coming hopefully by 2010. Now, the article didn't go into a lot of detail about what models are going to be offered, if they were just going to offer the Swift or they're going to bring the Swift Sport over as well. The one thing that was kind of important to note, though, is that they're going to be bringing over the next generation Swift, not the current one. So whatever changes are made between now and probably 2009 when it's introduced abroad, that's the model we're going to be getting. And we've talked about it before, but yeah, please.
I was going to say, well, first of all, this rumor, this has been a rumor for over a year.
Yeah,
You're
totally.
right. I did post on it a year ago. And it's one of those things where people want it to happen so bad that they'll jump on any bit of speculation to say that it's true.
Right.
But this coming from Automotive News,
And
straight from Suzuki,
right.
This is legit, and hopefully it's true. And while it's very far out, they're talking the next generation Swift of 2010, it's great that it's going to happen. I am concerned a little bit because the current Swift appears to be awesome. I can't say it is awesome because I've never driven one, but it appears to be just a kick-ass small car that probably the US would fawn over because it would be similar to the experience of a Mini Cooper for about $5,000 to $7,000 less.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd really equate it with the Cooper. I think if Honda came out with like a two-door Fit Sport, or if they imported like the last generation Vitz, or Toyota's Aygo, I think there's probably a little bit closer competitor there. I don't think it's quite that micro compact segment that is really
What's the output on the current Swift Sport?
The Swift Sport's 125. So you figure, the Fit is 109. So we're talking a 15 horsepower bump up right there, with a really, really great engine. The 1.6 liter that's in the Swift Sport is garnered a lot of praise from people that have driven it both in Japan and Europe.
Yeah,
so
but consider the Mini has grown with this new generation of Mini. The Swift actually looks smaller to me than the current Mini. I mean, this.
Oh, it is.
This looks.
No, there's.
Okay, yeah.
From what I understand, no, it's definitely a few inches shorter. My only thing is, and I'll take the blame on this. I threw the Cooper S into the post just because it's one of the more kind of direct, fun driving machines. There's not a lot of small, compact vehicles that are really entertaining to drive.
Well, I think it's the banner car for the small car resurgence in the U.S.
But see, at the same time, so much of that is just kind of the brand's own cachet and its quirkiness and that kind of thing. Whereas the Swift, that's honestly a dedicated driver. It's a vehicle that kind of has to stake its own claim. Where the Mini, even if it was a poor driver and didn't have a great engine or a great gearbox and all the things that BMW did get right on it, I still maintain it would have sold well because of the fact that it was kind of this iconic looking car. I think the Swift,
the Mini was designed to push buttons.
Exactly, yeah, and the Swift, it really has to kind of live up. It has to make its own reputation based off of its driving dynamics and its fun factor and its
Yeah, but considering you look at Suzuki's marketing campaign lately, and they're trying to associate their vehicles with their motorcycles, which are world class.
Oh, no, they're some of the best in the world, yeah.
But all of their commercials so far have been comparing their SUVs, like the XL7,
Right.
to their bikes, which is ridiculous.
Having driven the XL7, that's not a really good comparison.
Yeah, that's not a fair comparison.
But that's the thing that I've maintained for a long time is they need to draw on that heritage, but they're drawing.
This is the only car that
this
could
is the
possibly
only
do
car,
it.
exactly, and that's what I guess I've been kind of waiting for is some of that really, really awesome engine tech they use in their bikes, and need I remind all three of us, which I know I don't. That's how Honda started. That's how Honda got their foothold in the U.S. They started building bikes. They were reliable. They went really well. People enjoyed riding them, and they slowly brought into the automobiles from there. That was the backstory behind Honda. So I'd like to see Suzuki kind of make those same plays. The problem is with Suzuki, they still have that kind of, I don't want to say it's not the Daewoo of Japanese cars, but it's not a vehicle that's really garnered a lot of praise from people here in the U.S. The last vehicle that was really, what was the last vehicle that was really noteworthy from Suzuki? Exactly.
Aside of the current stuff, you mean?
because I mean you could easily say that the Grand Vitara, the new one, is a potentially very attractive vehicle. I mean,
And
they
the
do have
SX4 is
a
cool.
lineup
I mean,
that can be considered successful at the moment. They sold over 100,000 units last year, which was their goal.
Right, but they're not a vehicle that people aspire to.
No, in recent history, completely forgettable.
Yeah.
And
My friend did have one of the old Swift GTIs though. That thing was
Those things are rocking, and that's and as far as enthusiast cars are concerned, that's the last thing that I can think of that was actually a really entertaining ride. So
yeah, as far as a fun to drive car from them, for sure. And the what do you call it? The SX4 is pretty fun, but it's hampered because it's a little heavy for the power that it has. And
right, and especially
one that I drove had an automatic,
it's
so it
unique
wasn't as fun.
being the least expensive vehicle with all-wheel drive.
Oh,
So
and
they have a total angle on that.
right.
Oh, and they could make it. The SX4 could be completely awesome if they, dropped, say, a turbocharged engine in there, after they launched their Rally Championship Series car.
And the Swift, does the Swift come in two-door and four-door?
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the world?
Yes.
Yeah, no, the four-door, and maybe I'm mistaken, the four-door is the basic Swift, and then the Swift Sport specifically comes in a two-door. Do they offer Do they offer a basic Swift in two-door?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, Alex?
I'm not sure, but
I'm not sure about that. I'm just thinking it's Swift Sport.
Yeah.
I see this car as a potential total bread and butter car for Suzuki.
Oh, yeah.
They're obviously not going to make it in the U.S., which is something you can't make a small car in the U.S. and make money at it, which is something GM argues day in and day out. They can make a lot of them, import them into the market, and quite honestly, this segment is pretty ripe for the picking. I mean, you have the Fit. You have what other
Yaris,
small cars?
The Versa, but those are all still they're all still pretty large comparative to the Swift.
Yeah.
That's the major thing. Now, the only thing I think that's a really direct competitor with the Swift is the Fit, and just like I said, from a fun to drive dynamic and that kind of thing. But we shall see. They're saying 2010. I really hope it comes to fruition. But like we mentioned at the beginning, this is kind of rumor. We've heard it before. This is the first really solid piece of news we've gotten about it. And then, of course, it should be interesting to see what changes are made in the next iteration. If they've got a 1.6 liter right now, a variable valve timing, 125 horsepower, you can figure it's going to probably go up to maybe a 1.8, probably upwards of 130, 140 horsepower. And if they can keep the weight down,
it's still going to make good gas mileage too. So they're going to have that angle to play too.
Yeah, no.
I guess that was my one concern before is, if it's going to be the next generation, is it going to get bigger and fatter and heavier?
Like every other vehicle does, yeah.
Right, and especially to come to the U.S. and meet crash standards and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't want that to happen. I love the Swift the way it is right now, and I'd like to have it in that form. But we're just going to have to wait until 2010. Man, with all the stuff that's going to come out by 2010, that's going to be a great year.
If it all actually happens.
If it all actually happens, it's all vaporware at this point.